Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. I hope this video finds you all well. One of the hardest things I dealt with when I first got sober, and I know this applies to a lot of people, was the flooding back, the returning of all my long lost emotions, all those emotions that I've been numbing and hiding from for many years. It was a really scary place to be, and I know it causes many people to relapse and go backwards because they can't handle them. Just before I share with you a couple of ways that I did, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It will just mean that perhaps one or two more people may see the videos and get a bit of help from them. And also, if you've had any help over the last 6 years that I've been making these from the videos, take a moment, just have a click on the Ko-fi link in the description and perhaps give the channel a little bit of support. It'd be gratefully accepted. Thank you. So yeah, emotions. When I first got sober, I remember thinking, what the hell's happening to me here? Because after the euphoria had worn off, all these things started coming, feelings that I'd not felt for years, stronger. I knew what, you know what they are, but they're uncomfortable and scary. Don't forget when we were drinking and using drugs, I'll use drink as the main example here probably. If we were joyful or happy, we drank. If we were sad, grieving, we drank. If we were fearful about anything or anxious about anything, we drank. If we were celebrating, we drank. If we were relaxing after a hard day, we felt tired, we drank. Every single excuse or reason or emotion. If we had problems in our love lives, we drank. Envy, greed, all these things, resentment. I know anger was a massive trigger for me. It always was, before addiction got its hooks into me. I was always, I think because I was in the catering business and a lot of that early days was chefing, anger was part and parcel of the deal with that. It was a very stressful environment. And stress was another great trigger for me. If I felt stressed, drink would always be, and drugs would be a solution to that. But anger, or, if I was resentful against a person or a thing, a place, anything, it would fester inside of me and almost grow inside of me till it was at such a stage I would either have to scream and blow, and be extremely sort of a violent reaction, or I would have to drink. And it was the cause of many a relapse for me, not being able to handle these emotions, these uncomfortable emotions. So how do you go about it without sounding woo-woo? Because you hear a lot of people say, sit with your emotions and accept them. What does that really mean? Because it's quite a difficult thing to do, that, to sit with your emotions and actually feel the emotions, because it's an alien place for a lot of addicts to be, and we hide from them. For whatever reason, it might be emotions that are stirred up by something in your past, or currently, or whatever. It could be someone in your job pissing you off, or whatever it is. We might find that uncomfortable if we're stewing on them, sitting on them. But the thing is about emotions is it's part of being, and I know this might sound corny, but it's just a fact. It's part of living life on life's terms. It's part of being a human being, isn't it? It's what makes us, basically, unique in a sense that we're conscious of our emotions and our feelings. And, some of them are very pleasant and some of them are very unpleasant. But they're inevitable and they will come and go. And that's the first point I want to make. If you're uncomfortable sitting with these feelings, first of all, and accepting them and feeling them, you've got to know that they are transient and they are temporary. Like everything in life is temporary, isn't it? We're not here for long, and emotions aren't either. And dwelling on them, negative emotions in particular, is not really productive. We have to let them, we can either sit and stew on them, or we can let them come and go. Sometimes that's really difficult, but we have to understand. I've got a ring. I wear a ring here that says, this too shall pass. It's an old saying, but probably one of the most pertinent sayings about life that I've ever heard. That's why I wear it, because whenever I'm forgetting that, and there's emotion that's really bugging me, particularly anger, again, like I say, and resentment, then I'll twiddle the ring and I'll look at it and realise that the emotions shall pass. And the other thing that I remember is I always remember the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because that was always one of my biggest faults. We have very little control on anything in our lives, really. Particularly around some of our emotions. We certainly don't have control over other people and things. And we have to accept that people do things that will annoy us and will make us angry. And we have no control over that at all. And to let that affect us, or to let their behaviour affect any of our emotions negatively, it's like stabbing yourself for no reason at all. It's just pain that we don't need to feel. We have to accept life, as it comes, rather than as it is, rather than we want it to be, because it very rarely happens like that. People are people, things happen. We have no control over a lot of that stuff. So we all, for me anyway, when I feel an emotion fear, anxiety, anger, those sort of uncomfortable emotions, nervousness, whatever it may be, I know that if I exercise, for instance, or just get out and move my body, get out into nature, that I know that those emotions will lessen. I'm not saying they'll disappear completely, but I know they won't be as fierce. I could distract myself with reading or, doing something creative. There's an old saying, we should create more, every day we should create more than we consume. And I try and do that. And that distracts me from some of the negative stuff that sometimes floods into me. But, accept that, the joy and the great things that happen in life. Life is like an ECG, isn't it? There's massive highs and massive lows. And then there's that bit, the flat in the middle, that is nothing much happens, and people may call that boring. That's a really good place for me to be honest with you. I'd rather be there than massively up there and massively down there. That middle bit is probably what I'm aiming for most of the time. So there's a few bits of advice mixed in there. One is we have to accept all our emotions that come flooding in. Sometimes we have to sit with them and work out how best to deal with them, in as much as, can we distract ourselves? Are we letting things that are out of our control affect our emotions? We have to learn to let those go and not sit with them. We have to learn to talk through with people about our emotions as well. This is why being in a group of some sort is really important, or having someone who you can talk to unload emotions on sometimes is really important. Rather than sit with negative stuff that you can't get rid of, let it escalate and escalate. Talk about it to someone. However you can, even just picking up the phone helps sometimes. But it will pass, they will pass. And as the months go on into your sobriety, they get easier to handle, because you realise that a lot of them are just wasting your time. They come and go, and they're there because sometimes people put them there and you have no control over. So we have to learn to deal with them if we want to stay sober and we want to stay strong, and we just accept them for what they are. It's just living life, and it's a privileged life, and it's very short. So living it consciousness is, we're gifted really, and I'm grateful for those emotions coming in, because it tells me I'm alive, and it tells me I'm a human being, and it tells me I'm conscious. So just bear all that in mind. I hope it's helpful to you. Carpe diem, seize the day today, stay strong and stay sober. Please subscribe, please click the Ko-fi link. Thank you for listening. Much love to you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.